I'm recording, so we can start. Hi, Johanna.
Hello, Hiram. Hello, everybody who is joining Hiram and me in this nice workshop today. And we are here to talk about FICA projects, scenario building or designing. And I hope you have all already taken Hiram's previous Mozilla Hubs workshop. If you haven't, you should check out the video of the workshop because it will give you more perspective on the scenario building if you do that one first. So, Hiram, how
Yes.
would you describe in a very simple way what the scenario is?
I'll try to say it in a simple way, Johanna. Scenario
I'm
thinking.
challenging you.
Scenario thinking is creating a narrative, a story that depicts what you are going to do and where. Um, I think it's a pretty easy version of it.
Yeah. So, in order to make it easier to, oh man, I'm sorry, I'm playing with my avatar.
No, that's good. That's good.
That can happen when we are using Mozilla Hubs. Yeah, I'm excited about using this tool. So, to make it more simple and make more sense, and since all great creativity starts when you set the parameters, we have already uh, planned some structure on how to build the scenarios in this project. So could you go over the phases and the key elements of the scenario?
I will do so, Johanna. For that, I prepared a small presentation, and instead of showing the presentation using slides, I thought maybe it's nice to create a room in Mozilla Hubs and show the slides on the wall. So I started with a powerful image for the scenarios. What you see here are the tigers, the ninja scenario tigers, and they're going to create scenarios. Now, what I also like are mnemonics. So I thought of a way that the structure I want to propose for the scenarios somehow is logic and sticks. So the first slide has the title "Tigers often dance after lecture," and these describe 5 attributes. And if you look at the first letter of each of these attributes, you'll see that they stand for TODAL, which I thought is nice to rephrase as tigers often dance after lecture. Right. You see here tigers dancing on books. So these are the general attributes of the virtual scenario. Just say that if you look at the box and you say what is inside the box is a scenario, then the properties or the attributes of the scenario is that it has a title, it has an objective, a purpose. There is some time involved, so it takes some time to do the scenario duration. Inside the scenario, you will do social activities or have some kind of interactivities, and hence the title or the attribute activities. And because we are organizing these scenarios in Mozilla Hubs, you would create at least one room. And if you create a room, you create an address or an URL or a link. So hence these 5 attributes, which are in general describing the scenario, the purpose of the room, and what you're going to do inside the room.
Yeah. So this is when we are starting to create the scenario, these are like general descriptions that you need to have to kind of start planning. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Do we go over the phases?
Yes.
Within the scenario?
Yes. So the phases. So inside the scenario, you will have phases or stages or different parts of the scenario, and you could compare this with the 5 P's framework. You see here a tiger holding a pea, a letter P made out of snow. And the 5 P's are prologue, preparation, presentation, process, and postlude. Now, prologue and postlude are simply the welcoming phase or the welcoming stage and the ending stage. So at a certain point, people arrive in virtual room, they choose an avatar, they say hi to each other, and that's the first phase, the prologue, the welcome. The postlude is something likewise where you say goodbye to each other, see you next week or whatever. These 5 stages of the virtual scenario, they explicitly imply 5 locations in this space. So it might be 5 locations in one, let's say, in one room, in one address, but you could, if you wish, link different rooms with each other and go from room to room. So there is all kinds of possibilities, but it is important that for each of these stages you prepare a separate area inside virtual space. And that is because you will share information, you will ask people to do things, and we don't want well, some of these messages or some of these information is contradiction. If you say welcome and at the same time there is something that you have to some information that says you have to say goodbye, because prologue and postlude are in the same location, that is kind of weird. So we think it's better to have 5 different locations or 5 different areas for each of these stages, the 5 P's.
Yeah. So I could say that the topic or the presentation part is where the action is happening. So that when we come in, it's the welcome part, and then in preparation you are given some instructions how to act, and the actual activities happen in the topic or presentation. And
Yes.
then and then after the activities, we go to another location or part of the room to reflect or process what we have been doing and how did we experience it, and then we are saying our goodbyes in the end part. Yeah.
Indeed, that's the correct interpretation.
Sounds good. Yeah. So
next is again a mnemonic, because this is a list of 10 different attributes. That's already a long list. But I tried to find a nice mnemonic for that. Never disturb tigers, playfully enjoying mysterious inventions and tickling noses. And in the image, you see 2 young tigers tickling their noses. Here, the attributes are name, description, time, plan, environment, media, instructions, actions, technical, and notes. And in the upcoming slides, I will try to address each and every one of these different attributes. I think these are the most common and general attributes. There is, I think, every kind of detail of a scenario built in virtual space somewhere fits in one of these attributes. Never disturb tigers, playfully enjoying mysterious inventions and tickling noses.
Yes, and just a side comment here that we will be presenting this template for you guys when you are actually creating your own scenarios, so you can easily follow these instructions by using that template.
Okay. So this would be an example. So if you go over each of these attributes, you start from a theme, and this in the first year of FICA, we will discuss the theme relaxation, and I've chosen meditation as a form of relaxation, and I want to create a room that facilitates meditation. So the title of my scenario would be meditation, The objective would be meditate coached through recordings. The duration is 45 minutes and the activities are exploration and meditation. And the room that I built for that has an address which is in link. So these are the general attributes of the virtual scenario. Remember, tigers often dance after lecture. These are the common attributes. Now, as soon as we have that, we can go to every of the five stages. Remember the 5 P's. So the first stage would be prologue, and the full wall is covered with details on the attributes of prologue. Now, these 10 attributes. Remember the mnemonic: never disturb tigers playfully enjoying mysterious inventions and tickling noses. So each of these attributes need to be addressed. First, the name of this stage, the stage prologue, the name of it is welcome. I don't think there are many different names. You could change the name, but this is an appropriate one. What is important is the description. It must be brief, concise, but it is a global description. So we could use this as a summary of what is happening in the prologue. What you see here is a small text. Avatars spawn here, overseeing the room to get acquainted with the platform, which is Mozilla Hubs. And the participants all receive initial and basic information, and we'll go into in detail later on. And all participants briefly introduce themselves. It should take about 5 minutes. What I think is quite important is that you somehow draw up a plan, a scheme, a drawing. It may be in 2D, you can create a 3D drawing, but you have to somehow sketch the layout. Creating a sketch actually helps you to envision the space and to, well, that's the scenario, right? You have to, in your mind, try to imagine how it would look like. Where are you standing with your avatar? In which direction are you looking? What do you see first? For example, information on how to navigate. Next, would you turn your head left or right? Potentially, you aim clockwise, so to the right. And in that way, try to figure out where to display the information, and also question what information does need to be there at the welcoming phase, at the prologue. So I tried to figure that out, and that's why what you see here. So you see the spawning points, and the direction. You see these 5 triangles. Those are the spawning points, so people arrive at these exact locations. And the direction of the triangle, so you see that the points, one of the points is pointing upwards, and what these people would see first are these 2 visuals. And these 2 visuals are in navigation instructions and welcoming text with an image. If they then turn left or right, or they turn 180 degrees, they'll see different information. If we go clockwise, you see that there is here also a place where they can see the recorded coach. So there will be a video hanging in the wall. If they proceed clockwise, they would see some indication saying you can go to the next stage. If they turn further, they would see a short description of the full experience. So a little bit a summary of the meditation scenario. And if they keep on turning clockwise, they would see logos of the project, of the partners, and the EU disclaimer. There is one arrow that I didn't touch yet, and this arrow. This arrow points at the ellipse that I drawn around these visuals, and it says foggy garden. So I imagine that the environment where they're at is represented by a foggy garden. It might be something different. It's just an example. So the avatars, if they look around, besides the information that is hanging in the air, they also see a foggy garden. Plan is quite important, I think.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Next to that, you'll see the next two attributes, environment and media. Environment might be a complex one because in your mind everything is possible. Not so in Mozilla Hubs, since we are I guess most of the students are quite limited experience-wise and technical-wise. So they would use existing scenes. But if somebody is capable of working with the 3D editor, they can create whatever they like. But that is not so important. Hence, I included the image of the tiger saying, keep it simple. The focus lies more on the social activities, less so on what you see, what the environment looks like. The next one, media, is also quite important, and the plan, drawing up a plan, helps you to figure out what kind of visuals or what kind of media you actually need. So I tried to do that. From the drawing, I would know that I need the logo of FICA, which we will make available for students, and the logo of the partners, and the EU logo and disclaimer. These files would be shared with the students. Also, some examples of navigation basics. And then you have a list of visuals that students need to create because they're on topic. They're relevant to what their scenario is going to be about. So this would create a list of necessary resources. The example is welcoming, so an image of a person sitting with crossed legs, Zen-like with the text or welcome in this meditation room. The recording of the coach, so you need a coach, an actor willing to be recorded, saying welcome to the visitors and giving some short instructions. And then a text with a short description of the full experience, so an introduction to the 5 stages, so the visitors know about these 5 stages, and an invitation to first greet each other, explore, look around, see if everything is working, and wait until everybody is there before proceeding to the next stage. In my example, sound is unnecessary. But it can, of course, you could say, oh, I need sound for this phase. I'll introduce a soft wind breeze or something like that.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of atmosphere you want to create for that space.
Indeed. So the next slide are the next attributes of Prologue, and these are the instructions and the actions. I tried to figure out what is the main difference between instructions and actions. I think the main difference is what you see in the text balloons. Instructions are things that humans or the visitors are expected to do, some kind of action, whereas actions are the things that the avatars are doing. So the avatars are the puppets that appear in the virtual space. They're not real persons. And so both actors, the real person driving the avatar and the avatar, both might be doing different things. So with instructions, this is a list what the visitors are expected to do. So what they are expected to do is to welcome each other, wait for everybody to arrive, check if everybody is able to navigate, check if audio settings are correct, introduce each other, have a look around, find all the information, remember the clock, this part should take about 5 minutes, and proceed to the next stage. So all these instructions, they are relevant to this welcoming phase, the prologue phase, and looking at the list, it's kind of obvious that you need to be doing this at this point. Be nice to each other and say hi, and some kind of in some kind of way prepare yourself. See that you can measure the time and watch the clock. See if everybody is actually comfortable in working with the environment, so the technical setup at their end is right or is okay. And what you see online, what you see in the virtual environment, what the avatars are doing is spawning. Spawning means that they appear in the virtual room. So it's like arriving. And these visitors might choose an avatar and a name, like you just did a few minutes ago, Johanna.
Yeah.
And I would suggest, like you did, to use your real name. So above my avatar, I can't see myself, but I can watch at you. You're like a dragon, and your name is Johanna. It's kind of easy when you use, instead of a nickname, your real name. What avatars are actually also doing is practice navigation. So walk around, get acquainted with the platform, look around, look at the scenery, what is there to do. The avatars are talking, and then the avatars are navigating to the next location.
Yeah. For kind of sake of introducing the process to the students, all these phases that we did for the first one, all the parts that were planned, environment, media, instructions, actions, everything is repeating in all the stages. So kind of keeping the instructions not too long. Can we kind of say that these are the things that you repeat in each phase?
Well, not in each stage. If you look at the instructions, you'll see that here you check if everybody is able to navigate and if audio settings are correct. You won't be doing that 5 times. You will do this
but
only.
I mean that as they are planning all the stages, they need to kind of think that how is the environment in that phase, and what media do they need in that phase, and what instructions do they need in that phase, and what actions.
Yes, indeed. For every of the 5 stages, you have to go over these 10 attributes and see what kind of, like if you are in the preparation stage or in the process stage or in the presentation stage, every time there is this attribute instructions, and every time you have to figure out what are the humans expected to do. Like in presentation, if you are giving a meditation exercise, you expect that the humans are silent and listening to you, maybe even close their eyes, because that is what you are expected to do. This is what the humans do. The avatars, they just remain there in the space, floating, like you are floating right now, and that's it.
And I'm nodding. My avatar is nodding.
Yes, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
I'm getting familiar with the controls. Yeah.
Okay. And the next are the last 2 attributes, technical and notes. And these are kind of special ones because indeed, like you just mentioned, they can change. They will change for every stage. But in some stages, something specific might be necessary. Like in this case, since we are using a recording, we need to make sure that the link to that recording is actually accessible or reachable. And because we are using a recording with voice, so with audio, we might need to check out the audio settings, because in Mozilla Hubs you have spatial audio and you can do really nifty things with that. but it means that you have to experiment a little bit with the technical features of the platform. So that takes time to set up something really nice. Another thing is notes. Since this is Prologue and since the avatars are supposed to arrive here, it means that if you build a space, then you will create spawning points at that location. And you will see if you are building the space that nowhere else are there spawning points, only in this area. And hence, that would be a really specific attribute that needs attention. Also, what I mentioned in the plan that all the avatars or all the spawning points are facing the navigation instructions. So you can actually really precise locate the spawning points in every dimension. So in length, in width, and in height. You have to position them in the virtual space, but you can also direct them in a certain direction. You can point them in a certain direction, so they're at arrival. People would immediately see this or that. Like in this room, for example, you might not have noticed this, but I located the spawning points at this area. So if you arrive in this room, what you will see is actually this. This is more or less the spawning points. So you will see on your left some instruction on how to navigate, and on your right the title of this room and the title of the message that we want to bring.
That's a really sensible way of kind of very describing way of starting it, so it gives you good instructions right from the beginning.
Yeah, that's the idea. Now this is an overview, so I know this is a quite dense slide. It shows that you have to fill out the 10 attributes for each of the 5 stages, and it also says really clear out it is a mandatory fixed structure. So whatever you do, how creative you are, you always need to fall back on the 5 P's: preparation, prelude, preparation, presentation, process, and postlude. So that's fixed. And you always have to address these 10 attributes: name, description, time, plan, environment, media, instructions, actions, technical, and notes. That means you need to look at them and see if there is something relevant or appropriate to fill out. Maybe you don't have notes because in this or that area there is nothing really special. Everything is quite obvious. Then that's okay. You can leave notes clear. But you need to look at it and see if something needs to be there. With plan, for example, you might say, I'll leave plan empty. I don't fill in anything in for plan. That would be a bad idea because from my experience, and I'm not a great drawer, but I kind of learned that making a plan, some kind of sketch drawing of what the environment would look like, helps me tremendous building it. So I wouldn't, when I'm in the 3D editor with which I use to create these rooms, I'm already guided through my plan, through my sketch, where to position something. I just need to figure out where exactly, but I know more or less the structure, and that is really helpful. Also, yes.
I totally agree that I'm also a very visual person, so if you have some kind of chart or picture, it is very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. So what exactly does the attention of the students need to, well, what is exactly what the students are going to do? Where can they really freewheel that is in the on topic, in presentation. So what is going to be the content of presentation? That is free. That is something that you need to address. I think the other four stages are kind of obvious, and with limited work, limited instructions, limited visuals, you can have these installed. But what really needs attention is the actual on-topic social activity, which is in
Yeah.
this case the relaxation. And that means you have to really think through what is going here. Again, it's a mandatory fixed structure, so you have to let's say categorize all your ideas within these 10 attributes, but you're completely free on how to do that. I think
Yeah.
it is wise to start with this one. So if you start planning and creating and building a scenario, it is wise to create this one, and then from there evolve to left and right, which I
Yeah.
did for my scenario, because I started with a set of meditation instructions, so I know it's about presentation, and then I looked at what do I need in preparation, what do I need in process. So how would visitors prepare for meditation, and what would they do as a reflection after the meditation? And as soon as I have constructed that, I go to prelude and postlude, where that's already kind of obvious. Prelude is about welcoming. It doesn't really matter what you're actually going to do, it's just welcoming. And postlude is you have closure, you say goodbyes to people, and you're going away. So those ends are kind of common. They don't really relate with the middle part, which is relaxation.
Yeah, that is true, and I think I agree that that is a good place to start. And our colleague Celia and we will be giving another set of instructions and inspiration on relaxation on the topic, and we will give you some information about that. What type of things could be producing the relaxation or facilitating it.
Yeah.
So we are probably here clear now with the topic, and if you have any questions, um,
Yeah.
the mentors on site will give you some instructions how to ask.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hiram.
I've just some last notes, which I depicted here in this last slide, which is make a list of all these attributes for every stage. Which was what I told you just, and these are some things that might be helpful. So go into detail. Remember you're in 3D, in virtual. So theoretically everything is possible. Technically, it depends on where your skills lie. Remember, you have to collect all kinds of resources, so images, sounds, text, recordings. The sooner you have a clear idea on which resources you need, you can then find time to create these resources. Like I created the tiger images. I have a nice tip for that. You can use AI to help out as an assistant. Don't rely on AI, because that is really not helpful. But if you consider AI as an assistant, it might help you. So as an assistant, that means it helps you create an interesting and correct text in English. Or if you want to create images, it might help you a little bit with these images. Don't expect too much from AIs. They're at the moment still quite dumb, but they are useful. Imagine the scenario. Walk it through in your mind. I do this all the time. Close my eyes and start fantasizing about a specific action. And then what I do is I write a narrative. I try to write down really what happened. So when you look at my writings and drawings, it would say, so you spawn here, You look around left and right, and you didn't see the secret that was hidden above you because you don't look up. You look left and right, and you start wondering. And then there is a visual at a certain point, and it says, "Go back and look up." And that's a small story of a scenario that I used for a puzzle. So try to be imaginative and play in Mozilla Hubs. The more you play in Mozilla Hubs, the more you would have the constraints in your fingers. And experiment in Spoke. I will prepare a demonstration of how to work in Spoke. Like I will try to demonstrate how to build this room in an easy way. It's really not difficult. Uh, but I'm about to make that recording. Experiment in Spoke. The more time you spend in Spoke trying out things, the more you understand what is feasible and what is not feasible, and what kind of effect does it have. Make rough sketches and select the best. So if you're doing scenarios and you're making sketches, plans, do that rapidly. Don't be elaborate in the details. Just keep it abstract as a plan. Make a lot of them. Try out what are the best positions of media visuals. As I said, use AI to help out as an assistant, and then really focus on the topic at hand, the relaxation part. So really focus on the middle P. The other P's, they will come quite easily, but the middle piece is the one that is really important. That was it, I think, Johanna.
Yeah, that covers it.
So
Thank you, and just have fun with the scenarios.
yes, indeed. I will share the link to this room through our website so people can walk in it and see the presentation. I think that's it for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Leave
Bye
it
bye,
as it.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.